Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are back for another video where today we are previewing the 5:05 Central Time matchup between the Duke City Gladiators and the San Diego Strikeforce. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into the preview. Card popping up right here. 5:05 p.m. Central Time, YouTube and Caffeine TV, live from the Pechanga Arena in San Diego, California. The 0-6 Duke City Gladiators face off against the 4-3 San Diego Strikeforce. As you see down below those two records, your statistical leaders for both teams. Now, one thing I want to note here, though, is while he is on the roster, Javen Kilgo probably is not going to start. He still is by default your leading passer since he's still on the team, but as of right now, it's the Joe Mancuso show. Jeff Carr is still your leading rusher. Journey Sloan, who didn't play last week, he's been kind of hit or miss, I think, based on just how the rosters and wide receiving core and everything have gone, but he is your leading receiver. Defensively for the Gladiators, Tamar Hart, Jason Serta, and Aaron Jackson all lead in their respective defensive categories. We'll see if Jason Serta comes back. He also did not play last week. Actually, he will not play. He is on short-term injured reserve. We'll talk about that in a minute. On the San Diego side, Nate Davis, Chance Bell, Jordan Kress are your leading statistical leaders in the offensive category. As always, we need to talk about whatever elephant in the room there is. This is the revenge game. Nate Davis played for Duke City for many years. Now he's going up against his former team. They've already done it before this season to start the season. I mean, kind of put that to bed. I know people talk about it, but at the same time, let's move on. Now, leading receiver Jordan Kress. This will be the final week without Hoodie Rogers or blanking on his name. I'm blanking on his name. Line. We'll talk about it in the injury report. I know I'm going to hate myself for forgetting his name. Arthur Jackson. My goodness. Anyway, final game without those guys based on the suspension. Jaquan Artis, there's no T at the end. Sherrod Williams and Justice King lead in their respective categories. Now, players to watch for both sides. Joe Mancuso for Duke City. He's the guy. I mean, simple as that. 11 of 18, 118 yards, 4 touchdowns, 7 rushes, 91 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns. He almost is your leading rusher in one game. Simple as that. Tamar Hart leading in the defensive side for the defensive line at 9 tackles, 2.5 for a loss, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble. He had that forced fumble at the very end of the first half, I believe, against San Antonio. He's been all over the defense this season, or all over the offense, I should say, on the defensive side. 6.5 total tackles. You see a stat line up there for the season. He's been pretty good. On the other side, Jordan Kress, 5 receptions, 76 yards, 3 touchdowns. You know they're going to throw it. You know both teams are probably going to throw it all over the place. Mancuso has the ability to run. Nate Davis does too, just not often. But it's going to be up to Jordan Kress. It's going to be up to Isaiah Cox if Chance Bell comes out of the backfield. And I know I'm forgetting a couple of others. But to attack this secondary, to attack this defense of Duke City, who has been formidable, they've been good, you are going to need to really bring your A game. On that other side, like I said, mentioning Tamar Hart, you need to be able to get pressure. Nate Davis is a statue. There's no, he can scramble when he needs to for 5 yards or less maybe. But ultimately, it's going to be up to Tamar Hart. It's going to be up to Isaiah Bean, who I'm assuming is playing linebacker. You're going to have to get pressure on him. There you go. Defensively, Atoa Fox, speaking of secondary, his last game against Vegas last week, 3 tackles, 1 pick, 1 pass breakup. He had the pick 6. Excuse me. It's going to be up to that secondary. You got to shut down if Journey Sloan plays. Otherwise, it's Tyron Laughinghouse, it's Greg Dent, it's Laquiviante Gonzalez. Jeff Carr was catching a couple of passes out of the backfield, I believe, last weekend. So it's going to be up to this secondary to shut down Joe Mancuso and, dare I say, make this team one-directional. Mancuso can still run, though. That's going to be the key factor. I'll swing back to him as a player to watch. Yes, if you can shut down that passing game or limit it, he was 11 of 18. That's still over 50% passing, but 91 yards rushing. They almost upset San Antonio. There have been some close calls for Duke City this year. Is the quarterback the reason why? We'll find out. They almost had it last week against San Antonio. They had a tough game against San Diego to start the season. Granted, first week jitters and everything along those lines. But is this the week that Duke City pulls the upset, gets their first win? We'll find out. Series history, we're tied at 2. Their last meeting being week 2, 32-26 San Diego. Strikeforce are favored by almost 2 touchdowns with a locked money line and an over-under of 90.5. So let's go take a look at the injury report, our rosters, bet, prediction. We'll get out of here. All right, injury report. Some additions for Duke City. They've added Jason Serta and Greg Thomas. That's not good for a defense that really needs to shore up against a really, really good passing offense. So curious to see how that plays out. But Jason Serta didn't play last week. Isaiah Bean filled in pretty well, and they played a very, very good passing attack offense there too. So maybe it's a little bit more of the same. The defense knows that these guys are out and they got to step up. Again, Aaron Jackson, Greg Thomas is out, and I'm blanking on who. Cam Pruitt, who's got a big old club on his hand, and blanking on 6. Jadarius Byrd, things along those lines. You need that secondary to really step up. On the San Diego side, still, like I said earlier, suspended Arthur Jackson, Marquise Rogers. Trayvon Van comes off of the short-term injured reserve, but going on it, Dexter Reese and Connor Mangan, which means you need a kicker. So, 2 defensive backs out for San Diego. That kind of bodes well for the passing game for Duke City. We'll see how that plays out. Let's go take a look at our roster, bet, predictions. We'll just move on down the line. All right, 25-man rosters, as always, starting with the away team. As we know, it's pretty much the Joe Mancuso show. Justin Stockton, also off of injured reserve. I forgot to mention him. Is this the week that they actually have a true to form running game? That's no slight at Jeff Carr or any of the players previously for Duke City that couldn't get it going. But as we all know, this rushing attack has struggled. Can Justin Stockton provide that spark? Is he going to play? We'll find out. Otherwise, it's still more of the same with Jeff Carr. Wide receivers stay the same. Offensive line, they've signed James Hines. We'll see if he gets in or if he's more of a reserve. Defensively, stays the same on the line. Linebacker, probably Isaiah Bean. I put him there as a linebacker because he played last week. And then they've signed Craig Holmes as a defensive back. We'll see if he plays. But again, probably maybe more depth, kickoff, kick return coverage, things along those lines. On the San Diego side, big signing on the wide receivers. Xavier Amy, former Duke City wide receiver. He has some chemistry with Nate Davis. I want to see if he gets in. Isaiah Crocker, I'm not sure if he's going to play. He looked really injured. I'm amazed he did not get on the injured reserve, or maybe I just didn't go far back enough in the transactions. But Xavier Amy signed. We'll see if he gets in. Otherwise, offensively, like I mentioned, Trayvon Van is back. We'll see if he splits some time with Chance Bell or if it's just one running back that they suit up. Defensive line, nothing changes. Linebackers, nothing changes. And they have signed Tariq Thompson back for the defensive secondary there. We'll see if he starts. Obviously, there's some chemistry. He played for him last season, or if they get Tycorian Brown into the mix. Aiden Johnson is signed as your kicker. He kicked for them a little bit last year. But that's really it. There's our rosters. Let's go check out our bet, look at our prediction. We'll get on out of here. All right, best bet. It's going to say over 84.5. It's over 90. I copy and pasted from a previous over-under. And yeah, if it was over-under 84.5, I'd be betting $100 on this. Over-under 90. I'm going over 90. Over 90. That's 45 points for both of these teams. Seems a little distraught, but both these teams can hit it. If the defenses are going to play the way the defenses have been, they're going to let up points. I look for over under 90. And again, if one team doesn't score 45, I think another team can easily score over 50. So over 90.5, we'll go from there. But other than that, there's not really much else. I just think both these offenses are going to be very good. You add the element of the running game into Duke City. I really like the over. Easy. It's going to come back to blow up in my face as it does. Let's go check out our prediction, and I guess we'll get on out of here. All right, prediction time, 52-48. I've got San Diego winning a close one. Main reason, I just think that their defense is a little bit better. Don't get me wrong, I think both these teams are going to put up points. Both these teams, like I said, they probably should have both won last week. San Diego should have beaten Vegas. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. They didn't have what it took. Duke City had a touchdown scored on them with 9 seconds to play or something along those lines. So ultimately, I mean, Duke City might have, maybe, should have, would have, could have had 2 or 3 wins by now. Honestly, they're losing close. They're bringing teams down to their level and saying, all right, let's get, down and dirty. So if the under hits, fine. If you're going to take the Duke City plus 13.5, honestly, that'd probably be the better bet. But that's where I'm at. But anyway, I locked in the over, so I'm going to stick with it. But hey, I'm going to put another bet on plus 13.5 for Duke City. So that being said, don't get me wrong here. This will be a fun game. I can't wait for both these quarterbacks to just sling it around. But I think San Diego is just a little bit more of a complete team right now. Would not surprise me if Duke City does pull the upset. We've seen plenty of those in the last 2 weeks with teams getting their first wins or teams getting their first losses. So ultimately, though, I do have San Diego just squeaking out a win, just like they did in week 2. So that's it for me. Taking off here. We'll get the recaps and everything along those lines sent out when I get the chance to fully recap and narrate and do all that stuff. But until then, guys, I am taking off here. Love you. Have fun on the rest of your Sunday. We'll be back for more Week 11 action when that time comes. Till then, see you.